Welcome back. My name is Thomas. I'm here with Allison, David, and Diamond, and this is A Bard's Tale, our D&D 5th edition game. We are continuing right where we left off as the team was climbing the stairway to a palace in the clouds. And as you break through the top of it, there's sort of a cloudy, gauzy layer. You're able to chat with your herald, by the way. He does ask, and how should I announce you?
With enthusiasm.
Ah!
Yes, what he said. Is it more appropriate to be noticed or humble?
Humble? Here. Roll out your titles. It's the only way to get noticed.
Can I do a performance check to try and give us all some true but absurd titles?
Okay.
I already have a gnomish name.
Yeah, but that's not a title.
The title's in it.
It's
How about 18?
very true. It's more like a series of titles.
Mm-hmm.
How about 18 to add like some not untrue but important titles? I'm metagaming a little just because this is how you do it when you're kind of not entirely present. You're like, well, I'm gonna roll for it instead of role playing it.
Right. Well, and the other thing is when I ask Stan for a strength check, I don't make Allison bench press. So social roles, like it's like same deal. But with that roll, I'll let the team brainstorm a few as you want to get through it.
When he says that, I just start saying my actual name.
He listens and nods. Seems to
You'll have
remember
to
it all.
stop him eventually.
No, let him hear the whole thing.
How long will never get up there?
Yeah.
You're not that old or gnome. It's
No.
it
It takes a few minutes, though.
yeah. You're a solid 10-12 minute name. You're not not ancient or anything. That's
And then the very end, and this is Lovelace.
And
I think, Gnome Saver, Gin Freer, Shark Slapper.
Technically, so you know, it was a Dow.
Dow Freer then. Thank you.
Space Cowboy, Gangster of Love.
That's Stan. It's not me.
Maurice.
So unless you have any more questions for him, he leads you into a just opulent tent space. It's a massive single tent. It's held up rather than by stakes. It's held up by air elementals who are just holding it and flying in place. The entire thing is floored in just sumptuous, voluptuous cushions and people to match. Everyone is bedecked in finery and or less, but it's very fine. Even the various stages of strange and exotic clothing. You see several sort of groups, centers of conversation. Hordes of exotic folks. The seneschal does indeed give the pronouncement. A few people begin to listen. The mostly nothing. But there's a few at a couple of the minor titles, kind of that's an interesting title. Thus the success of your performance check. And then The Arcoser just bows to you and glides his way down the stairway. Just spreads his wings and flies back down to his perch.
All right, y'all. Let's see what there is to see.
You are approached immediately by servants bearing trays with bizarre foods, just things that you've never seen really before. One of them starts to approach you and then like looks at you and looks at the food and sort of turns away, and you see that was mostly made of like rocks and goo. It was probably not for humanoid consumption, and indeed the crowd is, there are very few humanoids here. You see at the center and at the on the tallest pile of cushions, splayed out, is a 10-foot tall giant blue man, laughing uproariously, enjoying the festivities. He's drinking from everything available, anything within his very long arm's reach. Eventually makes it to his mouth.
I do suspect, my friends, that to get an audience, we are going to have to begin by having fun.
ClickClack looks terrified.
You'll do fine, honey. So, your worst case is that you merely have to pretend to have fun.
Did you bring Loveless with me?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I'm writing her.
Does that
Well,
garner attention?
Yes.
Probably not. It's just a crab.
Yeah.
It's a terrestrial creature.
It's pretty big, though. Right?
But
It is.
giant crab is a terrestrial creature.
And
Yeah.
and the combination of you is not so unusual. Plus, you guys, while maybe you think of it as your everyday battle clothes, like you are dressed in adamantine. You carry mithril in the bow. You've got, I mean, you guys have some really expensive gear.
Also,
We
covered in
clearly have a
brass
little bit
chicken.
of we know what we're doing about us, despite the evidence to the contrary.
You do also see that not long after you get there, you see the fire elemental present your gift, and it gets a broad guffaw from the djinn at the front. Lifts it up. In your hands, it was two hands and big. In his hand, it is. Just kind of like laughs and chuckles approvingly, and the fire elemental points in your direction. He kind of, ha, welcome, and then goes back about his business. Puts it on a pile of other gifts of similar opulence.
Good to be the djinn.
So, all parties sort of have their flow. Every party has its flow. You can't just like directly go and address the host except to say thank you, and that's at parties where you know the host intimately already, or maybe they're the only person you know. But you show up at a place you don't know anyone, you got to start a little bit of crowd working, a little bit of getting through.
ClickClack is taking copious notes of everything you're saying.
So at the metagaming level, what do I roll for that?
I would accept insight, investigation, or perception, and they'll glean you different sort of types of information.
Can't roll. Roll for party. That way.
And if anybody in the team is trained in that, this can be a teamwork test. I assume you guys are all kind of doing this together.
In which ones?
Investigation, perception, or insight.
I have 2 of the 3.
Insight's my highest, so that's what I would roll.
Okay.
Investigation or perception, I could do either one.
Okay. Stan, do you have any of those? Proficient?
Which one? Sorry.
Insight, investigation, or perception?
Nope. Oh,
Okay.
I have insight. Let me roll that.
Well, choose who you guys want to make the lead roll, and then you can teamwork with that person to give advantage.
Ah.
I have a +9.
I rolled perception and got a 19.
Okay.
I have +6 on insight, so I could assist.
All right. Advantage on the insight roll. And perception and investigation, nobody had those doubled up? You had one, but you don't have an. Oh wait, you have a built-in teamwork.
Yeah, yes. So advantage on the insight roll,
Yes.
and so I should roll that.
Yes.
How about 28?
How about that? How about that?
19 perception, 25 investigation.
Okay. So, as you survey the festivities, there are clearly some power players in the room, some people around whom the traffic kind of flows, and several of these people have their own entourage. With the investigation check as well, you're able to overhear some names, etc. You are in the court of Nawadi Modizamem, Weaver of Voyages, Cupbearer of His Excellency the Savage Gale. This is his palace and his court and his party. The denizens are mostly elemental servants, although there are a few other mortal servants, mostly Arakosra. He is also closely attended by an Arakosra dressed in the sort of traditional garb of a vizier. He's dressed as an advisor. Other people in the crowd. 1 second. Oh, I hope that all got saved, or I will cry. It did
Everybody
not.
looks suddenly intensely at the camera to see Thomas cry, apparently.
Yup. One long tear. So, from my memory, there is a Marid, another type of genie, a large, rotund, fish-faced and kind of frog-bodied creature that actually seems to consider itself, with your exceptional insight check, seems to consider itself the most important thing at the gathering. There is a Genasi that has a court or an entourage around her, and she is the great-granddaughter of the provender of the feast, Mozidamem himself. Modizamem. I will get that right eventually. Also present, an entourage of Arakosra dressed very, very foreignly. A group of No, I take that back. A single flaming dwarf, an Azer, and one completely wrapped, shrouded figure. That is. There is also a group of fae. Various kind of, you think like sand fairies. But yeah, actual honest fae, not just elves. So, what do you do? Having seen the arrayed sort of... also, your investigation and perception tests have earned some questions if you like things you're looking for specifically. That's just a fairly detailed lay of the field.
What is an Azir?
An Azer is a dwarven fire elemental, kind of. Nature check, maybe? I don't know. But native to the elemental plane of fire.
Just looks like a dwarf.
Yep. Oh, the other thing that is there is a stag with a single spiraling horn that is about 20 feet tall at the shoulder. It is reclined and like hooves folded in and sort of tucked in on a large bank of cushions off to one side. But it exudes an aura of calm and goodness. The air around it almost sparkles. Oh,
Charlie.
you got high enough. You would recognize this as what's called a Kirin.
I was gonna get there eventually in my own brain, so thank you. Like, I know what this is. I don't even know how to spell it.
Huh.
Well, goodness. So, our goal here, y'all, is to enjoy ourselves and possibly rest a bit. Not make any deals we can't follow through with, and try to figure out a way to stop Borannor from killing or disarming Duneharrow.
So, I mean, djinns can grant wishes, right?
Yeah, but I think if you look at this, everyone here has probably asked for a wish. Like, you can't just start there. You gotta start lower. So, that one is his great granddaughter. Therefore, and also, that one at least looks like a dwarf. And, I suspect that the Kirin would be. Also, this one is an advisor. I think that if we all engage with different people,
Funny
maybe.
Story. I sent out a couple of pictures of my new tech setup that included a screenshot of some of my notes, and I was able to find one other creature that I had set up here in the notes, and that is a mechanical creature. This would take a knowledge arcana to recognize. This is that unusual.
Well, we'll give it a try. 14.
It is some sort of inevitable. They are spawned by planes of law. They are divine creatures that essentially enforce cosmic dictates. The reason you can't cheat death is because eventually, inevitably, one of these creatures will show up and enforce death. Time, wishes, that kind of thing. You can't really tell what kind or which one it is, there, but you know there's many varieties. This is about a 12-foot, looks like a golem, but behaves more like a conscious creature. Thick, dark-bodied. It's got a massive helm that just kind of comes around to a focused point at the front.
You mean like... Where'd you go? Do you mean like this? She says as she puts a link into our Roll20 window with a cloudy image of Akiran.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. That was the last major player. What do you guys do?
I think that we should all sort of work ourselves into different groups and sort of engage with them, see what information we can get generally, come back together and make a plan based on having more data.
I head right for the mechanical guy.
Okay.
And I am not smooth about it.
All right, so David, ClickClack heads straight for the mechanical person.
He stops,
what
he
does
stops
everyone
about
else
5
do?
feet away, realizing he has no idea how to start a conversation.
Okay.
So he just sort of like tries to remember what casual looks like, and like casually walk up to whatever the conversation is, and just be that guy who's also standing there.
Okay.
Although, sitting on a crab.
Can you roll a history check to, like, check your own personal history for... How did the bard do this?
No, not how
No.
it's
I don't think that's a history check. That's a what was Tuesday like check.
Some of us have to make those checks, man. Don't hate.
So, while other people decide, the creature sort of is basically off to the side and watching. It's kind of a wallflower, it seems, and so you kind of wallflower next to it, and looks down at you, looks back at the festivities, looks back down, back at the festivities.
I would like to remind you that I'm constantly ticking.
Okay. It looks down again, and in a voice in your head says, "I too am uncomfortable at gatherings." And then it looks back. Minutes pass.
Question.
I say back to him, first I try thinking back to see if I can respond that way. I think very clearly. People don't work like machines do.
Don't they?
far more variables.
I have seen cosmic machines, friend.
I have not.
All things follow a clockwork. It is why I exist.
So there's a pattern to all of this.
Yes. Giant head nod.
That's very comforting, thank you.
That was not my intent. But
I didn't
you are
think-
welcome. And then he continues to just kind of stare at the party. Creatures
afraid
ignore
of-
him a little. Like, nobody's mean to him, but he doesn't approach anyone, and nobody tries to break the ice. Everybody just seems a little, like, leery about this guy, this creature, this thing. Struana, while they're wallflowering and being awkward in the corner, who do you approach?
I was gonna wait for Stan to pick.
Okay.
Stan goes
I
to
like-
To who?
where there is drinks.
They're being passed around on trays that seem never ending. If you have an empty drink, someone will offer you a drink.
Is there anyone else drinking ale, or is there ale available?
There is.
Well, I will grab an ale, and then I will find someone who is also drinking ale, and start talking about how great it is that they.
The Azer is probably the one that is most likely drinking. That's a grain brew.
Yeah. So what's the name?
And it's an Azer. It's a dwarf that is on fire.
Okay.
Like rather than hair and a beard, it has flames. Not necessarily. I'd have to check the book for all the details, but it is a fiery creature of dwarven stock. Raises its mug to you.
Yes. Yes. Happy to see ale at this party. What brings you to this engagement?
Well, both of your statements were connected there, friend. It says in Celestial. Oh, what language did you approach it in?
Dwarven, since it's a dwarf.
Okay. It speaks kind of like an old old-timey Dwarven. It's not unrecognizable, but it's like your grandpappy used to used to talk. The drinks are never ending and of whatever variety you like. And that's why I'm here. What about you? I'm sure you had to work much harder to get up those stairs.
Oh, I do hope to speak to the djinn at some point, but it's early yet. It's quite an experience just to come up here.
Well, don't wait too long or you'll insult him.
Noted.
But I'm sure you could find somebody to arrange you an introduction. I'm Ember.
Weird
I'm
name.
Embermock, by the way.
Nice to meet you, Emmermock. I'm Stan Smith, Paladin of Morden.
I see from your markings. Don't see many followers of gods out in this place.
Paladin of Moradin, sponsored by Hezrick.
I shall not have any graven idols before me. But what about right behind me? So, what brings you out to the desert? And how'd you get into the party?
Well, I'm happy to say we've procured quite a unique item that the Jinn seemed pleased with. It was a blue diamond crystal skull.
He kind of looks over at the pile of treasure and is like, oh yeah, it's a nice piece. You bought your way in. Good job. It's tough for a mortal to get an invitation.
Well, good old-fashioned bribery. Glad it still works.
I wouldn't peg a man like you for a tourist, though. You're not just here for the drinks. Huh?
I need to get somewhere.
Huh. Interesting. Well, tell me all about it. And he starts listening to your story.
How much? Let me roll an insight check. Is this guy like trustworthy? Why is? We were drinking, like chatting. But trust no one.
Oh, have I so damaged you with?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, it's a natural one! Oh no, why?
Well, you can't critically fail a check. So,
You can try it.
I mean,
I'll do my damnedest.
right? It's tough telling, right? It's tough telling, is what it comes down to. He's not cagey, but man, that's a lot of beard. It's tough to read faces. But you chat for a while, and he is interested in your story.
I'll tell him some things in, from the city. Probably hasn't heard a lot of stories from there, but maybe. And of the Dwarven district, perhaps. And in terms of why, coming to the desert, I'm not sure how forthright we're being about our intentions in this place. I knew how we felt about it before.
I don't know, Stan. How much self-control do you have on your flaw of being a little boozy and on a quest?
Probably not a lot. And he'll end it with, and that's why I'm not getting into the Borannor stuff necessarily, because still not sure where that territory lies. But that's why I'm seeking an audience with the Blue Dragon.
Huh. Well, you better go quick. Word is it's not going to be around that much longer.
Well, that's true. I've heard such things myself.
He signals for another round, and then we will zoom the camera over to Struana. Who are you approaching?
Are there any obvious performers?
Yes. Some of whom are performing. There's various instrumentalists. Some corners, like there's a garden area, Garden of Clouds, because why not? That's where there's another kind of performance area, and people, people are milling about.
Do any of the people that you gave us names and identities of have any obvious musical equipment on them?
The Marid.
Really? All right. Well, then that's who I'm going to approach.
Okay.
That was not where I thought I was going,
It
but here
looks
we are.
all the way down its big fishy nose at you, as you approach. Just sort of blatantly ignores you and goes back to talking to more worthy being. Keeps talking to worthy beings.
All right, so I'm gonna shrug because I'm totally less interested in fighting that then. The foreign Arakosa. So, are we just generally able to understand each other's languages in this space? Is that's what's happening?
Yes.
Okay. That's fantastic. I'm going to go up to the foreign Arakosa and be very excited to see them.
Right. More to the point, it seems like most of these creatures have some way to understand and communicate with you. It's not just like there's no universal translator button.
Foreign Arakosa, who I think you said seemed to be sort of obviously from not the same place and a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, they most of them are speaking in primordial. Do you speak that? You comprehend
I don't.
that?
I do.
How long does comprehend last?
About an hour, I think.
You're probably at the tail end of it.
Probably.
It was a long stairway.
It's an hour. If I run out of it at this point, I'm going to recast it. I kind of have to.
Okay. We'll assume by the end of the party you will have to recast it, so go ahead and mark it off. Okay. They're speaking primordial. They're, have various stories. They seem to be from the plane of air. And one of them is referred to as His Excellency the Ambassador.
So I'm going to approach them like sincerely impressed by them. Like can't even meta things, but they're beautiful. Bird people look cool. And essentially that, only suave.
Give me a persuasion roll for your entrance in. Right. I don't mind some narrative, descriptive social engagement, especially when it, you don't always need line by line.
So I got another natural 20 for that. That's 26.
Excellent. Excellent.
Share some of that luck, lady.
It's usually not me.
So you immediately capture the attention of the ambassador, and other people start listening to you because this important person has you've sort of caught their ear, and you've gotten him telling a story is essentially what you've done, which and then adding back and forth and getting to know. So you spend a few 15, 20 minutes just building a rapport with that group.
I want to engage them about ultimately like where they came from and like how their path to get here was. They've been here before, good shit like that.
Oh, so they are a essentially an embassy, an ambassadorial party from the plane of air. There's an Arakostra kingdom there that this person represents, and I did lose all the names. I believe it is now Ikiru. And essentially is there to tend to matters that the political matters between the planes and with the other courts of air elemental creatures, including the Nawadi.
Have they been here before? Question.
Oh, they're basically stationed here. This party every night is their life. They are part of the diplomatic envoy ship that are here to socially engage with this court all the time.
So you must see so much.
I must. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here anymore.
Acknowledging that, and then moving to segueing to the best way to approach a Jinn for help, or if there's anyone else in the room who can help with large difficulties that are not merely individual, and potentially offer to trade for a song.
Well, getting any of these proud cosmic entities to care at all about what goes on in this mortal, temporal, material plane, there may be ways. I have seen powerful performances sway the Weaver of Voyages. I have seen various displays impress members of the court to influence the giving of gifts or such things. It's not so uncommon for a mortal to come to court hoping for such boons.
I figure and assume as much, and some must have been successful, but fewer. I would rather be on the successful end.
Well, of course. Failure builds character, but not nations. If there's any gossip I can help you with, because you rolled a natural 20.
Yeah, then the next question is, have you heard the name Borannor?
The desert people's hero. Yes, yes. Indeed. In fact, he points toward the creature that the ClickClack is sitting next to. Rumor has it that the Marut over there is finally here to correct all that necromancy mumbo-jumbo that goes on in the sand.
I don't think I have enough context for the use of correct in that sentence, Thomas.
Okay, well, if neither does your bard, maybe. Well, undeath is an imbalance in the ledger of souls. Of course.
Oh, of course. That makes sense.
And eventually, an auditor will come to call. Thus, the inevitables.
And that's a great segue into asking about the Kirin and, like, Well, that's fascinating, since there's another balancer here.
Oh. You noticed, did you? Quite the mystery, that one. Very quiet. Makes no waves. Only arrived just a few days back. Seems to come and go as it pleases, but has stayed for a reason we don't well, I haven't been made privy to.
Speaking of secrets, segue being something clever about speaking of secrets, the Mariad who apparently wouldn't speak to a mortal being.
Oh, Zafara. I wouldn't press your luck either. Foul-tempered.
I expect there are worse things to be.
Competitive
But
as well.
Isn't this advisor one of yours? The Aracosa, who's the clear advisor.
Oh, yes. Handles the logistics and things. I mean, not one of mine. He comes from one of the sand-dwelling cousins. I am from the plane of air.
Here. Lovely. You're all so lovely.
And he continues to drop little bits of gossip, mostly just like courtly reputations. Go ahead.
If it becomes, I know we're nearing the end of this game session. If it becomes an appropriate to offer a song about a subject or a tune, I also have flutes. I don't just have bagpipes. I would do that as essentially as appreciation for the exchange.
Okay, go ahead and roll a performance check. It's easy enough for a bard to work in, and let me sing you a song about it.
Yeah, like I know how to do this for other things.
Okay.
Just today it's not working. $28.
When you pull out the pipes and begin, the area around you drops silent, and pretty soon, like, you begin to get an area of the crowd looking your way, including, incidentally, the provender of the feast, Modizamem. Also conspicuously visible is that dark shrouded figure, and you see it looking intently at you.
I figured as much. So, polite segue out.
Okay.
And like, I really hope ClickClack's like looking at me so I can be like, hey, this way, and go to Stan.
Okay.
Does that work for you, ClickClack and Stan?
I've been studying the room, so I would have seen you do that.
Okay. That is what I figured. So, quick breakdown of information gathered, assessing, okay, Stan's getting drunk, alright.
We do need to talk to the Jinn soon. I did find that out.
That's important to know. Okay, we also need to talk to Shrouded Mystery Man in the corner here, who I believe is gone.
He's no longer in sight.
So that was a thing that happened, and that's probably one of Borannor's people, so we need to move relatively quickly. Or, like, that's the worst possible thing it could be, so let's just act as though that's true.
Fair enough.
Also, it's worth stating about shoot. Is Shrouded Figure maintain balance person?
No. That is giant mechanical warrior.
Okay. So then telling ClickClack that also.
Okay.
That this may be a good source for that. But we should approach the Jinn.
All right.
And I'm guessing that's our cliffhanger for the night, the timing.
I think that is, unless you guys want to play out that scene, I think we're at about that time of night. All right, then.
That seems like a glorious cliffhanger.
All right, you guys make through the crowd and get to the clear area in front of the Nawadi Modizamem. He flings out his arms. Welcome, mortals. Clearly you want something. And we'll see you next week. So, if you like what we do, hit like. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. And if you would like to help it get better, our Patreon is right down in the doobly-doo. Help us polish this up. Meanwhile, from all of us here at GameBreakers, have a good game.